I'm a bit disappointed with this year's basketball team.
Me too.
What does the man mean?
This project has me mystified. I'm just not sure what to do next.
Did you read over the instructions that we were given?
Yes, I did. I read through them a number of times, but they just didn't seem at all useful.
What does the man say about the instructions?
Who is that over there, next to the mailbox? Could it be Brandon?
I can't really tell from here.
What does the woman mean?
Oh no, I have a problem.
What's the matter?
I brought the blue notebook with me instead of the red one, and the information I need is in the one I don't have with me.
What does the woman have with her?
Do you know what time the lecture is supposed to begin? I want to get there in plenty of time so that I don't miss a word of it.
It begins at 3 o'clock, doesn't it?
What can be inferred from the woman's response?
So, how do you like the great outdoors? The mountains, the forest, the running brook?
I'd like it better if these mosquitoes weren't chewing me to bits.
What does the man mean?
I know you're going to be out of town for a few days. Is there anything I can do to help?
If you could, I'd appreciate it if you would look after my fish. Really, all you have to do is feed them twice a day.
What does the woman ask the man to do?
Do you think that the professor would let me turn in the paper a day late?
I wouldn't count on that if I were you. This professor rarely gives extensions on due dates.
What does the man mean?
How is the research coming for your thesis? You should almost be finished collecting your data by now.
Unfortunately, I lost most of the data when the computer system went down.
What does the man mean?
Are you going to be studying for the biology exam tonight? Maybe you'd like to study with me.
I would. After all, 2 heads are better than 1.
What does the woman mean?
Maybe we should leave an extra half-hour early, just to be sure we beat the rush hour traffic. I really don't want to be late to the airport.
There's seldom heavy traffic that early in the morning. I think leaving at 6 gives us plenty of time.
What does the man imply?
Tom submitted the application without filling out the back.
I'm sure he must have overlooked it, or he wouldn't have turned it in that way.
What does the man say about Tom?
I need directions to get to Kent's house. I don't want to get lost.
So you can make it to the party after all.
What had the woman assumed about the man?
Those 2 hours certainly went by quickly. Did you get finished with all of those questions?
Barely. I was writing non-stop for 2 hours. Did you finish?
I wish I'd had about 30 minutes more. I needed it to finish.
What can be inferred about the man?
I'm thinking of enrolling in Dr. Patterson's seminar next semester, and I understand that you already took this seminar with Dr. Patterson. What did you think of it?
I did take it, and I couldn't recommend it more enthusiastically.
What does the man mean?
I'm not sure exactly how to perform the next step in this experiment.
Me neither. But if Jimmy were here, he'd know what to do.
What does the woman say about Jimmy?
How did your interview go?
Fine, I guess. I mean, the interview itself was okay, but they were really busy. They had 10 other applicants in the office when I was there, and plenty more applicants were scheduled to come in for interviews.
It doesn't sound like you have much of a chance. Why don't you do what I did?
What's that?
Well, I signed up for interviews at the campus employment office. The people there helped me find open positions in my field and then coached me in the interview procedure. I was so excited about the work and so well prepared that when I went to the first interview, it went very well. I just found out I got the job.
Well, if it worked for you, then it could work for me too. Thanks. I think I'll give it a try.
Why may the man not have much of a chance to get the job he interviewed for? What did the woman recommend? What did the woman just learn?
Phew, I'm glad that's over. How about you?
Yes, definitely. Now I can relax.
You know, some people feel that waiting for the results is the worst part of an exam.
Really? I do all my worrying before and even during a test, but never after. The way I look at it is that my job is done when the test is over. There's nothing else I can do to improve my score after my pencil is down. It's a waste of time and energy to worry about it after the fact.
So, what do you do between now and when you see the results? The results on this exam are really important.
That's true, but it doesn't help to worry now. Besides, I was well prepared and I know I did well. Peace of mind for me comes from studying ahead of time and thinking positively afterward. If it turns out that I didn't do as well as I expected on this test, I'll just work that much harder for the next test.
What have the students been doing? What will the woman do if the results of this exam aren't very good? Listen to a lecture in a course on architecture. The professor is talking about the Winchester House.
Today, we are going to take a look at one of the more unusual houses in America, the Winchester House in San Jose, California. This house was built by Sarah Winchester, the 19th century heiress of the Winchester family. Do you recognize the name of Winchester? That's right. The Winchester family is the owner of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, the company that accrued its wealth in the business of manufacturing Winchester rifles, the rifle of note and notoriety in the American West. Let's take a look at this rather incredible house that Sarah created. She began construction on the home in 1884, and she created an unbelievably wild profusion of rooms, corridors, stairways, doors, and windows. She continued to add to the house until her death in 1922. By the time of her death, the number of rooms had reached 160, with more than 2,000 doors and 10,000 windows. You might be wondering what could motivate someone to build such a house. Well, here is Sarah's story. Sarah Winchester was married to the son of Oliver Winchester, who had founded the Winchester Repeating Arms Company and made a huge success of it. In 1881, Sarah's husband and their month-old baby daughter died. Because Sarah's husband had been heir to the Winchester fortune, on his death, Sarah inherited the fortune. The fortune notwithstanding, Sarah was devastated by the loss of her beloved husband and daughter. In the aftermath of her loss, Sarah was convinced by a trusted advisor that the family's misfortune was due to the fact that the family's massive fortune had been obtained through the manufacture of weapons responsible for uncountable deaths. Sarah became convinced that the family was being haunted by the ghosts of those victims of the Winchester rifle. To thwart the ghosts that Sarah believed were haunting her family, it seems that her plan was to build such a confusing house that the ghosts who were haunting it would not be able to find their way through it. Sarah dedicated the remainder of her life to adding on to the house in such a way as to make the ghosts get lost and disappear. This is the story of how the Winchester house came to be the way it is. Whether or not you believe in ghosts yourself, you can see that Sarah did. The world of architecture has one huge, very tangible, and eye-catching reminder of Sarah's belief in ghosts.
In what type of business did the Winchester family make its fortune? How long did Sarah work on the Winchester house? How was Sarah related to the founder of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company? According to Sarah, what caused the family's problems? The professor explains a series of events. Put the events in order. Listen as some students discuss material from a communications class. The discussion is on Morse code.
Did you finish the reading for today?
I just about finished it, but it was awfully long.
I finished the whole thing, and I really enjoyed it.
Let's discuss the reading for a while and then try the exercise. We have about an hour until class. Maybe we can get some of it done.
That would be great. I didn't understand all of the reading, and the exercise looked rather difficult.
Well, I thought the whole reading was fascinating, particularly the part about how different types of codes, such as Morse code, are put together.
Morse code has been around since the middle of the 19th century, hasn't it?
Yes, Samuel Morse developed it in 1838 by assigning combinations of short dots and long dashes to various letters.
So, each letter has a different number of dots and dashes?
Yes. Let me show you the signs for a couple of letters. You see, the sign for the letter E is one short dot. The sign for the letter T is one long dash, and the sign for the letter J is one dot followed by 3 dashes.
It looks like the signs for the letters T and E are much simpler than the sign for J.
Yes, they are. That's because Morse assigned simple signs to letters that are used a lot, and longer signs for letters that aren't used so much. And J is not used as commonly as either E or T.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, how about if we look at the exercise?
Good idea. Maybe we can get some of it done before class. Let's see. For the first problem in the exercise, we have to decode some words that are written in Morse code.
I have the exercise here. The first word is a dot and 3 dashes, a dot and a dash.
I think I've got it. The first letter, a dot and 3 dashes, is J. The second letter, a dot, is E. And the third letter, a dash, is T.
So the first word is jet. This is kind of fun. Let's try the next word. There are only 10 words on the list.
We should be done with this exercise in no time.
How long has Morse code been around? Why is the sign for E in Morse code much shorter than the sign for J? Which of the following examples of words in Morse code most likely represents the word pay? What homework assignment do the students have?
You know, you should really join the debating club. You are so articulate. You can speak intelligently on so many different subjects. And you are really very persuasive.
What are you, the debating club's recruiting chairman?
No, I'm not. In fact, there's no such person. I'm just an active member of the club, and I really value what it has to offer. I like to see how debating can help its members grow in ways they never thought possible. And I like to see the club grow and become better with new members. I think the club could really benefit from your contributions.
You sound like a sweet-talking politician to me.
No, this is serious. Come on, why don't you give it a try? The meetings are held on Tuesdays at 7.
You are pretty persuasive yourself. I'll think about it and let you know. Thanks for the invitation.
What is the man's motive in speaking to the woman? What do the man and the woman have in common? What does the woman decide to do? Listen to a lecture in an American history class. The professor is talking about the American colonies.
Good evening, class. Tonight we will begin our discussion of the colonial period of American history. During this period, people in North America lived in colonies under the authority of the King of England. By definition, a colony is a group of people living in a distant land, but remaining under the jurisdiction of their native land. Tonight, we will look at the 3 kinds of American colonies before the American Revolution: royal colonies, proprietary colonies, and corporate colonies. The first type of American colony was a royal colony. A royal colony was directly under the control of the King of England. Although none of the 13 colonies began as a royal colony, by the time of the Revolutionary War in 1775, 8 of the colonies had become royal colonies: Georgia, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia were all royal colonies, directly subject to the King of England. The second type of American colony was a proprietary colony. A proprietary colony was under the control of an individual, the proprietor. The proprietor was given a grant to govern a colony by the King of England. By 1775, only 3 of the colonies remained proprietary colonies: Delaware, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. The last type of American colony was a corporate colony. These colonies were governed under a charter received from the King of England by a company's stockholders. Only 2 colonies, Connecticut and Rhode Island, could be considered corporate colonies. These colonies were founded by groups of colonists in America, not by English stockholders. The 2 colonies did, however, receive a charter from the King of England and were therefore considered corporate colonies. These were the 3 types of colonies: royal, proprietary, and corporate. As we discuss the colonies in detail, you will see how the type of colony affected the governing of the colony. We will study the 13 colonies in 3 groups: the northern colonies, also known as the New England colonies, the middle colonies, and the southern colonies. Next week, we will begin discussing the northern colonies. Please read Chapter 7 in your text about the colonies in Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island.
Which of the following were mentioned in the lecture as types of American colonies? Which best describes each type of colony? How many American colonies began as royal colonies? What can be inferred from the lecture about proprietary colonies? Which colonies will be discussed next week? Listen to a group of students discussing a lecture from an oceanography course. The discussion is on black smokers.
That was a fascinating lecture, wasn't it?
It certainly was. And that's good, because we need to understand the information from the lecture for the next exam.
Do you want to discuss the information from the lecture to make sure we understand the key points?
Sounds like a good idea to me. That way we'll all be better prepared for the next exam.
Sounds good to me, too.
You know, before the lecture, I had no idea that there was so much life at the bottom of the ocean.
Neither did I.
For a long time, scientists thought that there was little or no life at the bottom of the ocean.
Because it's so cold?
Not just because it's so cold, but also because of the lack of sunlight.
But now they know that there's a tremendous amount of life at the bottom of the ocean, sometimes as much as 4 miles down.
It's hard to believe that the ocean can be 4 miles deep.
In some places it is, and when it's that deep, obviously no sunlight can get down there.
And some of the animal life down at the bottom of the ocean is huge. Did you notice that picture of the giant worms and giant shellfish?
Yes, and that really huge shark.
And those animals are able to exist down there because of the black smokers.
The black smokers? I didn't quite understand that part of the lecture. Could you explain it?
Sure. I copied this picture of the black smokers during the lecture. See?
They look like volcanoes, don't they?
That's because they actually are volcanoes on the ocean floor.
There are some volcanically active areas on the ocean floor. Water gets heated in the volcanoes, and jets of extraordinarily hot water shoot out.
These underwater volcanoes are called black smokers because when the hot water shoots out, it looks like black smoke.
And this water from the black smokers heats up the cold water around them.
So life is able to exist on the bottom of the ocean because the black smokers heat up the water so that it's not too cold.
The black smokers do more than provide heat to support life. They also provide food.
There's no food on the bottom of the ocean?
Well, no food as we know it because there's no sunlight. Most of the world's living creatures depend on sunlight for food in one way or another through photosynthesis.
I see. But deep in the ocean, there's no sunlight.
And if there's no sunlight, then photosynthesis isn't possible.
That's one of the main reasons why scientists used to believe that life wasn't possible at the bottom of the ocean, where there was no sunlight.
Scientists now know that there's a tremendous amount of thriving life down in the depths of the ocean around the black smokers.
But this life can't depend on photosynthesis because there's no sunlight.
That's right. The life in the depths of the ocean is dependent on chemosynthesis rather than photosynthesis.
Chemosynthesis? How do you spell it? CHEMOSYNTHESIS? So it's dependent on chemicals rather than light?
Yes. The volcanic water heated by the Earth's inner core is full of minerals. When the heated water erupts from the black smokers, the bacteria around the black smokers are able to metabolize the minerals. Then, the bacteria are eaten by other forms of life.
So the minerals nourish the bacteria, and the bacteria nourish other life forms.
That's exactly right. Life is dependent on the minerals from the black smokers. This is the only environment on Earth where life that's totally independent of the energy of the sun is known to exist. The energy that supports these life forms comes from the Earth itself.
That's truly amazing.
It is. It's also pretty wonderful that we seem to understand this material and are a little better prepared for the exam.
Why did scientists used to believe that little life was possible at the bottom of the ocean? How deep is the ocean in its deepest parts? Why are the underwater volcanoes called black smokers? How do black smokers help to support life? What would probably not be found at the bottom of the ocean? The speakers describe a process. Summarize the process by putting the events in order. Listen to a lecture in a biology class. The professor is talking about the compound eye.
For class today, you should have reviewed the section on compound eyes in Chapter 3 of your text. Yesterday, we discussed eye structures called light spots that can only sense light but cannot see images as we do. Today, we'll look at one example of a compound eye by looking at the eye of a monarch butterfly. Let's look at the compound eye of the monarch butterfly in this drawing. The compound eye is a very interesting structure. Magnified, the eye looks a bit like a pincushion full of round-headed pins. The surface of the eye is curved and made up of thousands of lenses called ommatidia. Each ommatidium is covered by a six-sided lens. The curved surface and six-sided lenses allow each ommatidium to face a slightly different direction and sense a slightly different image. As light enters each lens, photoreceptors under the lenses send messages to the brain. The brain reconstructs the image of the butterfly's surroundings by combining the thousands of messages from each of the thousands of lenses into one image. Now we're going to discuss what a compound eye sees, and I have 2 points that I would like to make. The first point I'd like to make is that a compound eye can see movement well, but it does not focus well. Butterflies are very nearsighted, yet they are remarkably able to detect movement. Have any of you tried to catch a butterfly in flight? Possibly some of you have been frustrated while trying to swat a fly. Researchers have known for a long time that insects of all kinds can sense movement very well. The compound eye allows insects to detect the slightest movement much better than our eye can, in spite of the fact that it does not focus well. The second point I would like to make is that it is now believed that a compound eye probably sees one image rather than a compound picture. At one time, it was thought that a compound eye saw a compound picture. Some thought that monarchs and other insects could detect movement well because each ommatidium registered 6 complete images. So the monarch saw some 6,000 pictures of the same item. This would be a bit like standing in a store and looking at a wall of TVs all tuned to the same channel. Every movement on the screen produces thousands of like movements. Now, most researchers think that a compound eye sees one image that is blurred because of the huge number of lenses in the compound eye. Because the eye senses light from so many directions, the butterfly detects movement easily. The slightest movement alters the light sensed in hundreds or thousands of the ommatidia, allowing the butterfly to react quickly, even if it can't clearly see what it is reacting to. Tomorrow we'll continue our study of eye structures. Please review the section in Chapter 3 about the human eye. I've put several interesting articles about recent research on the compound eye on reserve in the library. These articles are considered required reading and will be tested, along with the information in your textbook. Class is dismissed.
What is the most likely title for Chapter 3 of the text for this class? How many lenses does a compound eye have? According to the professor, what is true about the eyesight of a butterfly? According to the lecture, which picture best shows what researchers believe a compound eye might see? What kind of eye will be discussed tomorrow? Where can you find the professor's articles on the compound eye?